Live and NXT review for this week. I'm your host, Mikey. Let's get into it. So this week on not on NXT, on 205 Live, we started out with Mustafa Ali versus Arya Davari. We started out with Mustafa in the ring, giving a lot of respect to Cedric Alexander. Again, here still, but we get Arya Davari come out, he interrupts. They have a match. Mustafa Ali, of course, he is still a really good performer. So we got a good match here. Mustafa Ali getting the win, continues to show how good of a performer he is. I guess maybe this might start a feud between Mustafa and Arya. Can't say I'm too interested in that right now. But again, with the 205 Live, the performances continue to be great every week. So if you guys aren't checking it out, you got to go check it out. Let's see here. Next up, we had a little video package or promo, sorry, with Buddy Murphy. He didn't make weight. He didn't get down to 205. He was 207 this week, so he's not going to be able to compete at the Greatest Royal Rumble for the title. So this coming week, they are going to have a gauntlet match for the title shot at the Greatest Royal Rumble. Let's see what else did we get here. Next up, we had Jack Gallagher and Brian Kendrick. We go against a couple of jobbers here just to, bring Brian Kendrick back and, make him look good. They did a good job of that here. Again, they keep bringing up the point here that Brian and Jack have had a history, so maybe this team might not last that long. At some point Brian's going to turn on Jack, is what they keep reiterating, and that they're probably going to break up at some point, and we'll get a feud between the two of them. We got Drew Gulak here. He was continuing his campaign for a better 205 Live. Didn't really get a PowerPoint show or anything, but they showed us a little promo for that. Next up, we had Lince Dorado and Grand Metalik versus Hideo Itami and Akira Tozawa. This was a tornado tag type of match, and what I said here about this match is this is the kind of match you should be watching 205 Live for. All four of these guys really went at it. A lot of stiff shots, a lot of high spots. If you're a fan of wrestling, this is the type of match that you should be a fan of. And if you're skipping over 205 Live every week because of what 205 Live has been in the past, I would say you're making a big mistake. Go watch 205 Live. They're having great matches over there. You don't want to miss out on matches like this because they are great matches. So please go over, start watching 205 Live. Those guys are performing really well. They've earned our respect in the way of watching and cheering for them, because they're doing a really good job there. Okay, let's get over to the NXT review for this past week. On NXT this week, we started out with Johnny Gargano. He's back, and he's just kind of celebrating the ring that he's back. And then he's celebrating that Candice is with them. She's gonna be wrestling, making her NXT wrestling debut. And then so they say that Candice LeRae is going to go one-on-one later that night with Zelina Vega. Next up, we got a match here. It was Ricochet versus Fabian Eichner. Wow. I mean, the guy continues to be great. Ricochet, that is. Such a great performer. Everything about his performance is good. His moves are good. The way he sells is good. You know, all the high flying moves that he does and the pace at which he wrestles, it makes it exciting. You know, sometimes, WWE, the style of match they has, there's a lot of spots where, the guys are resting. They're holding each other in a hold for a long time. But with Ricochet, you're going at a high pace the whole time. It makes it so exciting to watch. You know, obviously a lot of people are watching NXT already. But they aren't on the level of the main roster. I mean, with the shows that they've been putting on at NXT, so you definitely have to be watching that. Now that Ricochet is in NXT, I think he's a superstar for sure. I mean, he's going to shoot straight up to the top. I don't expect he'll be down in NXT for too long. He's the type of guy you want on the main roster because he is so exciting. They did a little interview with him right after his match was over, and he's like breathing heavy because, and he's actually breathing heavy, like he's exhausted because he had such a good match where, like I said, the fast pace, like I'm sure he really was exhausted, and it was kind of neat that they did that interview with him like right after, and it wasn't 10 minutes later, and he had a chance to catch his breath. I mean, you just got this like kind of the sense of like, wow, like this guy really goes. All right, let's see here. What up after that? We next up we had the War Raiders versus the Metro Brothers. The Metro Brothers were there just to get squashed by the War Raiders. Obviously, War Raiders making their NXT debut. Official match debut. Of course, the week before they made their TV debut by, running in and interfering. But now they actually get a match. Looked really good. Big, strong guys. I could see why everybody was excited about them. I would say, I didn't know War Machine before they came over to WWE. So now that they're here with WWE as War Raiders, I've heard all the hype about them. And now that I've seen them in action, I say they didn't disappoint. I can't wait to see more from them. This is another team that I'm like, wow, like, if they don't make NXT a bigger show, how can they keep them, down on NXT? Like they're another type of team. You could just see that they have it. Like they should be up on the main roster if NXT doesn't get isn't being treated as being on the same level as Raw and SmackDown. Okay, let's see what else we get here. Next up, we got a little video of Shayna. She's still creating havoc in the locker room for the women. She's going back there. She's mad that Ember Moon's locker is still there, so she takes that stuff down, puts Queen of Spades cards on there, and she's saying that she's in charge of the women's locker room now. We got a little video package that Kona Reeves is coming to NXT. They showed us this little segment here was, just a few segments in a row, video packages to get a bunch of storyline stuff out of the way or run through them really quick anyways. We got a little video package of Pete Dunne here. Walking somewhere with his suitcase, and they ask him about Roderick Strong, and he just says, oh well, I'm gonna rip off Roderick Strong's head, and that's what he thinks about Roderick Strong. So that was that. Next up here we had Killian Dane versus Lars Sullivan. Lars Sullivan got the win here. The match itself was really good. Killian Dane, as we know now, he has been called up to SmackDown as part of the Sanity faction. So, what I think about this is, Killian Dane's putting one over for Lars Sullivan. He's getting, this is a typical wrestling type of deal. Killian's on his way out, so you got to get Lars a win to pass the torch for Lars to be this, the new big scary guy for NXT. And I could say, just the guy's look He's definitely a scary looking guy, so it's believable. Um, yeah, I think killing. I mean, Lars is a strong guy. Just his facial expressions alone, and just the natural way he looks, he's gonna be over as a heel. I think fans will actually boo him for the right reason of his character. So I think that's gonna be good for him. And then to close out the night, we had Candice LeRae versus Zelina Vega. Um, they're having a pretty decent match here. Almost tries to interrupt the match here at the end when Candice is going to get Zelina Vega in the Gargano lock. Johnny runs in, and he gets Almas in the Gargano lock. And then, bam, there you go. Zelina Vega taps out. Again, we know Almas and Zelina are on their way to SmackDown as well. So they take the loss here on their way out. Kind of help. Not that Johnny needs it or anything, but I guess it helps Candice out a little bit as her legitimacy of being a wrestler. So they get that. Again, decent match. But here at the end, Aleister Black shows up. Gargano challenges Aleister Black for the title, and Aleister accepts. So we're going to get a good match there, I think. Again, Aleister Black, I'm surprised. I'm not surprised that he's still down at NXT, but he's one of the guys that he's so over with the fans that he'll be up on the main roster in no time as well. With his performance and his character, he does everything really well. But they had a lot of call-ups from NXT, so I think it's good for him to stay down at NXT for now. It's only going to build his star. Now that he's got the belt, it builds it even more and more. And then, it puts off his call-up just a little bit longer, so when he finally does get called up, fans are going to go nuts for that. But I think that's, it's good. Another good reason why he's still down there is now we're going to get a good match between him and Johnny Gargano. Velveteen Dream is up and coming. Obviously, still he's a big star, so we'll get some good matches there. That I can't wait to see. All right, guys. Thank you for tuning in again to the Wrestling Show. Again, we're still kind of experimenting here. We're just a few months into doing our show, so we are going to continue to do our Raw and SmackDown review as one show. We'll do the NXT and 205 Live show as another review of with just me here, since I watch those shows regularly, and where Andrea just kind of watches them spots here and there. And then I would like to start doing rundowns or whatever we call them of the shows immediately following the show. So I would like to do it. So like maybe on Tuesdays we have like just a quick rundown of what happened on the night before on Monday Night Raw. So then on Wednesdays, put out a quick rundown of what happened the night before on Tuesday on SmackDown, and then Thursdays I'd like to put out the actual review, because SmackDown and NXT are shorter shows. I'd like to do the 205 Live and NXT are shorter shows, so I'd like to do the 205 Live and NXT actual review on Thursdays. And then Fridays, that's when I'd like to do the regular wrestling show with me and Andrea, covering the main roster of Raw and SmackDown. And then, Saturday would be, we could do bonus episodes on Saturday. That would be, news. We could always do news segments on Saturday with, whatever other bonus stuff that we might be covering. If there happens to be like a a pay-per-view the next day on Sunday, then we could do Saturday, the news with the predictions of what might happen at that pay-per-view, that type of thing. Again, I want to say, I think we're 3 months now into doing our little wrestling show here on YouTube, so we're just getting started. I've been listening to a lot of other wrestling podcasts and watching a lot of other wrestling shows on YouTube, so I'm kind of like learning as I go of like what good formats are, and so I want to continue to make this show better so that everybody can get more out of it, so we can get more viewers. Right now, getting a decent viewership on YouTube, not on YouTube, getting decent listenership on podcasts, and then not really so much on YouTube yet, but I want to try to grow their YouTube. And in fact, with everything I just ran down, I think I'm going to continue to do most of those things exclusively to YouTube. And I think what I'm going to keep on the podcast itself for now, until things change, if people actually want more, want everything to go to both the podcast and to YouTube, I don't know, I still might do both. I guess you'll just find out next week as it happens, but I might try to just keep the Raw and SmackDown show to podcast, and then everything else just on YouTube. Obviously, the Raw and SmackDown would be on podcast and on YouTube. But again, still filling it out. We'll see here. You'll know for sure next week, because either you're going to get all those rundowns on the you'll hear all those rundowns on the podcast, or you won't, and they'll be up on YouTube exclusively where you can go check them out. All right, guys. Again, thank you for checking out the wrestling show. Have fun week, and enjoy wrestling.